yours.
Okay, thanks. Welcome all. I'm glad that you decided to spend a little time um, on a Saturday talking about this, and I appreciate the invitation from the optics folks. Um, I am going to be talking about a project that is called ComPADRE, but as we'll see, it has lots and lots of pieces. Um, and want to just give you a flavor of what's there and also let you explore some and ask questions and complain and so forth about what we have and what's going on. One comment, I don't like talking all the time. So I appreciate comments, questions, interruptions, whatever, as much as you need to make this worthwhile to use. So don't be reticent about speaking up and asking a question and even answering some of the questions that I have. So to get started, I always have to thank the people that do a lot of the work. For those of you who have never had the joy of working with Lyle Barbato, he is a genius. He is the technical guru behind almost all of what you're going to see today. One of the smartest, nicest people that I know. I think that the optics people would agree completely. So a lot of this is due to his nonstop effort over the many years. A lot of what I'm going to be talking about too are recent work or work of Sam McKagan and Adrian Madsen, who have been doing a lot of the more recent developments of connecting to PER and building portals and doing all sorts of good new stuff. There are some other people that have been with ComPADRE for many years that have helped both on the technical and the librarian side. But most importantly is that what has been a success has quite often been due to groups and individuals that have said, I want to do something, and have worked with us to build things like, optics, because the optics, that's one of the things that we're supporting. That's one of the things that ComPADRE does. So when you go to optics, that's things that we're trying to support through the work and effort that we do. So yeah, optics has a website too. So I'm going to start out with a question. And like I said, I want answers. You're here for some reason. You decided to spend your some time here when you said this is going to be an effort on ComPADRE. So what I want you to do is tell me either in the chat or speak up. Speak up is even better. We're a small group, and tell me what you think of when you say ComPADRE for physics education. So why are you here, basically, and what do you think you're going to be able to find and see?
Uh,
If you
can you hear
respond,
me?
yeah,
It's
go
John.
ahead, John.
Yeah, I'm here because I think of ComPADRE as simulations, and I'm interested in simulations, built simulations, and I'm actually building more, and I came here partly to advertise that.
Excellent. We always wanted. I had some of your old stuff, but it doesn't work anymore. So I'd love to see your new stuff.
Right.
New ideas for teaching, resources for new teachers. Yeah, iVet is something that you have talked about before. What else?
It's
Okay.
an online resource for physics people.
Yep. Good. Okay. I'll give you now my admin developer sort of view of it. And it starts with an infrastructure. So we've built a lot of tools on top of a adaptable interface and web technologies that allow all these things to happen. So that when someone like an organization like Optics come to us, we can say, okay, we'll pull up this tools, these tools, and these tools and get you up and running quickly. So, there's lots of services built on it. Um, we have, someone mentioned the National Digital Library. That's sort of our start. So we have a lot of library stuff, accounts, editorial reviews, all these sorts of things. And those are the things that support the projects. So when you talk about Compadre, you've got these different levels, either the infrastructure, the services, or the projects. And we're going to be talking mostly on the projects point of view. And so we'll build, we'll take a tour through this upper level. And of course, the whole point is that we want to support physics educators. So our audience is always physics educators and how they impact their students. Quick history, we don't have to go into this, but it started in '97 when Warren Hine built the first Physical Sciences Resource Center. The NSF got into funding digital libraries, and we got several grants through that project, and then further projects that are more grants or projects that were on a particular topic, but were the web services. And so, we've been around as Compadre for over 20 years. So doing the things that we can do to support physics educators and projects such as this as much as we can. There's a somewhat new starting point. So if you go to compadre.org, you'll get this portal page, which is something that was built about a year and a half ago, to connect to the AAPT, because the AAPT has been very important for supporting us. So if you go to Compadre, you'll get this list of the different projects that we're supporting, specific teaching resources that you can use for various things, and a search of the library itself. So you can start there if you're not sure where to go, but I'm also going to be going to specific, like I said, the specific projects that we'll be working on today. Okay, so I had to hide this first because I wanted your answers to what is Compadre. But all of these slides are available online. So if you go to tinyurl.com/opticscompadre, you can follow along and it'll have all the links to all the places that I'm going to be taking you. So if you want to spend a second and pull that up, you'll be able to follow along and all the links will be there because I want you to have them to explore. So I'll give you a second there. Let me know if you have any questions or suggestions as we start. Okay, here we go. So what I'm going to do, as I said, is to give a tour. And I was thinking of about one of two different ways that I could do this tour. Here are the areas, the resources that I want to go through and introduce you to and explain what's going on, give you a flavor of them. We could do this one of two ways. One way is I could go through these fairly quickly, and then we could spend, a half an hour of you just poking around at the places that you are most interested in. Or we could do these one by one and everybody go there and poke around, in each of the areas that we go through. The problem is I'm worried that people have different interests, so I'm thinking of doing the first one. I don't know if anybody has any preferences or thoughts. As I said, you have all the links so that if you get stuck in one place and want to spend a lot of time there, feel free. But um, I think I'm going to just go through these fairly quickly myself, and then we can just spend however much time as we need to with you poking around. Sound good?
I think I'd prefer having them one at a time.
For one at a time? Any
Yeah.
other thoughts?
And then we could have more time at the end to
Okay.
explore further each or ones that are of interest. What do you think?
That would be fine. That would be fine. Other thoughts? If not, we'll do it that way. Okay, you ready? So these are the main areas that I'm thinking of. Fizzport is one of our most active developed sites meant to give advice to instructors. And we'll start there, and then we'll go through some materials for the life sciences introductory course. There were a couple of comments in the sign up about needing help on teaching the life sciences courses. Take you through some of the Physlit materials and open source physics materials, touch on pickup, which is the computational area, teaching, integrating computation in physics, and then go through some of the more legacy materials. So here we go. And we'll start out with Fizzport. This is fizzport.org. And it was started and built basically on the questions of what it is that faculty want to help them with their classes, what it is that faculty need to do a good job on their classes, and those can be two very different things, and how can we help make faculty effective. So, as I said, this is at fizzport.org, so let's go there. And all of you should be able to log in as verified educators. I think we got you all set up. So if you go to fizzport.org and then go up here and log in, you'll get the main page, which gives you sort of an overview of what you might want. I'm going to start with the teaching area. Thanks, Chris. So this is, okay, where can I get materials that can help me teach my class? And there's a couple of things that we're doing on Fizzport. One is a list of, PE research-based teaching for your courses. There's a whole bunch of quick essays on how to do a better job teaching your class. But what I want to start with is this thing that says get teaching materials. So over here, get teaching materials. And these are projects, people that have developed a wide range of different types of curricula that are, they researched and developed, and they came to us and said, we need a place for these. And so Fizzport is providing that place. So we've got materials from one of the really interesting one probably for this group is the first one, the Acorn Physics tutorials. These are tutorial-like materials for the introductory course, and talk about how to do a good job running tutorial-like classes for the introductory materials. At the moment, they have tutorials on waves and momentum, but more are on the way. These are materials that are freely available and you can use as you want. So you have the tutorials themselves. You have instructor resources if you're an instructor that help you understand how to run these. So this is an example of how to use materials that people have created based on research and based on fundamental understanding. And so a number of these that you can go through, some of them are for graduate courses. There's the Maryland open source tutorials that have been sort of hiding out there for many, many years that are now available. So again, this is where we want to make all these things available to the people who are going to use them, which are, instructors in physics. So that's the teaching materials. You can also spend a little time looking at essentially a broader space of just information of different teaching methods like um, peer instruction or PhET, ranking tasks, all these things that have been developed over many, many years that these are shorter descriptions of the materials and how you can do them well. So the second area on Phys-Port is this area called the expert recommendations. These again are fairly short essays giving you ideas on what are best practices for doing various things in your classes. So going back to my slides, here are some examples of the expert recommendations that I think are really useful. How can you engage students better in active learning? Things like if you have skeptical colleagues and who doesn't, about PER-based teaching methods. There are arguments to help them understand what is the reason for them, and so forth. One of our most used areas is the assessment area. So all the various physics assessments, concept inventories, and so forth. Whoops. You can search through, and if you're a verified educator, and again, all of you should be, this is where you can download them. And not only do you get the assessment, but you get some explanation of how they work and why they're there and how to use them and what they mean. So that's the assessment area. And real quick, one other thing that Phys-Port is providing is video instruction to help you teach better or to help your colleagues teach better. So for example, the Periscope project is something that I use with my grad students every year to make them think about how do I run groups or what are they supposed to be doing in a discussion section and how they work. We also have a whole bunch of videos from the new faculty workshop from over the years. So you can listen to Eric Mazur give his talk about peer instruction or Lillian McDermott talk about PER and workshop physics. All of these things are available these are for your education or for your colleagues. So there's Phys-Port. Well, I'll just stop and let you poke around and see if you have any questions, suggestions, things you want to know more about. And just let me know when you're ready to go on. So highly recommend Phys-Port for those sorts of questions. Okay. So moving on, Periscope lessons, got that. So again, I had a couple of people in the preliminary survey ask about how do I teach the life sciences class. And the project started 5 or 6 years ago, aimed particularly at the introductory life science physics course. This is supported by um, a lot of the bio and medical organizations who 15 or 20 years ago put out calls or did some development of what should a modern biological or medical um, education look like. And they wanted it more quantitative and they wanted it more applied. So sort of the basic idea here is um, you have less of ideal frictionless systems, and you have more fluid dynamics or medical machines or animal movement. So there's some changes in topics, but even more so, the idea is to do things that are of greater interest and greater use for the life science students. So this is the Living Physics portal. And what this is a collection of submitted curricular materials from people who have been developing this work, uh, developing this material for their classes over the past several years. So we had some of the people that have been doing the most work on this project, on the life science um, class, submitting materials and providing us with resources that everyone can share. So if the easiest way to start is just to click on the Browse button, and you see some materials that are listed that give you explanations of or examples of things used in their classrooms. So, for example, like I said, fluids is a big topic. So if I search on fluids, I've got several tutorials that I can use in my class that are for that help me understand or have exercises on materials. And if I want particular types of materials, so let's say I want lab materials and lecture materials, I could go in here and select for those. And here I see materials for the cardiovascular system, diffusion, real fluids. Let's just look at labs. So I can poke around here and get the materials that fit into my class, I hope, the best way I can. In the portal, we have essentially two main areas, two main topics. I'm going to log out and log back in. Or two types of materials. One type of material is things that have been reviewed by our editorial team, and they describe, here, let's go to Brandon's. This is a fairly new piece of material. And if you go into one of these things, it describes what it is. It gives you all the files. We want as much as possible to hold the files. And then it has this information like, how does this help life science students? Or what sort of skills are you building for this material? So you can look at it and decide, is this going to work for my class, and how to best make it work for my class. Notice also that I've got these materials that are locked. This goes to this idea of verified educators. So since I'm not logged in, I can see this material, but I can't get the stuff that is restricted to instructors. Now, if I go ahead and log in and go back to it, I now have access to essentially the answers or the materials that the contributor want to restrict to other instructors and not to not allow students or anyone else to look at. So if you're teaching the life sciences course and you want examples or materials or applications that are specifically life science related, this is what we're trying to provide to you. And again, if you're logged on, I'll go down here. If you go a ways down, you'll get material that is listed as community materials. These are materials that people have submitted that haven't gone through the review process, but they still might actually be really useful to you. So since you're all verified educators, or you should be able to, you can get this more, less polished stuff. But this also may be the material that really fits into your class. So the idea is to have the community working together, sharing materials, describing the materials so they're easier to use, and making them available to anybody else who may be teaching the class. One thing that we do a lot in the editorial process, and we have another of the editors here, Nancy, say hi. Well, she'll say hi sometime. We have one thing that the editors look at is if you're a physicist who has not had any biology at all or had one biology course when you were a sophomore in college, what sort of support do you need to teach these medical or biological applications? And that's something that we look at quite often when we review materials. I feel I'm particularly good at this because I don't know any biology at all, so I can always answer that question. Okay, so I'll let you poke around. Again, you can browse. Instructor resources are things that are not particularly curricular related. They're not things you're going to give to your class. They're more things that are to help you as an instructor teach this material. Okay. The last thing I wanted to talk to you, and the other link that Chris put up, is to the Nexus Physics book. This is Nexus Physics is a project that Joe Reddish was involved in and sort of led for many years, that put together an entire textbook aimed at the life science courses. And if on the Living Physics portal, you do a search on living physics, I'll do it. The first thing that comes up is this thing called the Living Physics textbook. And this is essentially two textbooks with clicker questions and so forth that Joe has put together. And in fact, you can use the whole new textbook on Top Hat if you want to do it through Top Hat, or on Living Physics Portal, you can get to all of the materials that you can download and edit, the textbook and clicker questions and so forth. But what we also have is this link to Nexus Physics. So this is compadre.org/nexusph. And this is all of his materials, open source, use as you wish, materials that you can either use the whole thing or pull pieces for your own question, for your own classes. So for example, um, one thing I don't teach, or I didn't teach the physics for life sciences course, but Joe has this whole section on using math and science that is just superb that I use with my engineers to make them think about the difference between math in a math course and math in a science course. So these are materials that I use in my course, even if they're not um, living physics. So all of these materials available. He has a huge list of problems that you can look at, use as you wish. So if you, particularly if you're teaching the life science courses, just scroll through this and look at things that you can borrow. That's what it's there for. It's open and available for you to use. And if you want to use the whole package, again, it's been published through Top Hat, so you can get all these things in a, essentially a course management system sort of direction.
What is Top Hat?
Top Hat, Top Hat is an online service that is really a course management system. So if you think about Moodle, um, back in the day, WebCT, Blackboard. This is another version of a course management system that allows you to give readings, give questions, homework questions. You can do quicker questions in class. So it's an integrated course development system. The idea with Joe's stuff is that you don't have to use that. You can use whatever you want. It's just that Top Hat has it all packaged up. And for complete transparency, our connection with Top Hat also helps support the portal. So we get some royalties when instructors use Top Hat or questions from Nexus Physics on Expert TA. We get a little bit of royalty to help pay our server costs and so forth.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. So that answers some of the biology questions. Again, telling people, not just giving them materials, but telling them how it fits into a class and how you might want to use them. Next up, I wanted to go to Physlit Physics. Those of you who've been around for a while have seen various versions of Physlit Physics. What it is introductory physics topics that are all simulation based. It started out with Wolfgang Christian making Phys-lits for other people to put into their own web pages. And then Wolfgang and Mario and Anne put together, essentially a CD where all the simulations are there. And now we have supported it all online. So all of the materials are freely available online. So for example, if you go to, let's say, mechanics, and you're teaching Newton's laws, that's chapter 4. And it's broken down into a couple of different areas. Illustrations are just, let's see what things look like. So it might be an illustration of how you create free body diagrams. So you can create free body diagrams in different ways. And this just allows students to look at that and think about, am I doing this right? The second area are explorations, which are more asking students questions and is exploring the physics. Let's say Atwood's machine. Exploring the physics by changing parameters and looking at what happens. So you can take the Atwood's machine and change the masses and let it go. And the idea here is you can use this to actually measure things. So you can measure, if you click on the materials, you can measure the position. So you can do things about, figuring out what the acceleration is, what the velocity it is when it hits the ground, and so forth. So it gives you essentially virtual experiments. And then the problem sections are really answer these questions. Give us either numerical answers or answer specific questions on the physics itself. So here you're applying a force. I'm just picking these completely at random. And then I can change it to 20 degrees. And again, I can use my mouse to measure what things are doing. So all of them have a piece that is kind of tutorial in nature. So if you want to give students some reading and some exploration, they can, or you can use these as problems where they actually have to interact with the simulation, the physics itself. We're seeing you, but not your screen. Did I lose my... Can you see it now? Okay. I don't know what that was. Oh, I must have clicked on something. So again, illustrations are sort of introductions to, explorations are tutorial, more tutorial-like, tell us the concepts going on and problems, or actually solve something. Tell us the numerical answers. So again, I'll let you poke around. Again, this covers most of a standard 2-semester course in terms of the topics. There's a similar one on quantum mechanics, and there's another book like this on a little bit different on statistical physics. So yeah, QPQ is the quantum physics. And in fact, on here, if you scroll down, the other ones are at the bottom of all these pages. So from the Physlit physics, you can go to quantum physics. That has some interesting stuff. STP, this is somewhat more advanced, but I use this, the STP book in my class when I'm trying to explain entropy and why every, large systems always go to the mean. So again, poke around. Let me know what questions you have. Okay, the next thing I wanted us to visit is Pickup, which is a group of people that are very active in bringing computation into physics. Um, have people been connected to pickup before or seen pickup? Okay, I know that there's been some optics / pickup workshops. So I'll just point this out, and you can go back to your archives on the workshops. But again, people who are very interested in having our students understand computation as important part of what we're educating students for. They put together the pickup group, and what they've been doing is again connecting people that have done this and have examples for it to the rest of us who need to use it or might want to use it, but may not have the skills to make it happen. The two main areas on pickup, let's log in. The two main areas on pickup in terms of just resources is this tab called exercise sets. And these are pretty extensive activities, again, that have been peer reviewed, that do something physicsy using computation. So let's just pick one. I don't know this one. I'll just try. Let's try one. Ooh, falling sphere with air resistance. This is Kelly. I picked this one because if you notice, it has example implementations. It's done in C++, Fortran, GlowScript, Jupyter Notebook, Mathematica, MATLAB, so forth. So if you go here,
You left
yeah,
out basic.
yeah, this is just no, it doesn't have basic, Joe. I'm sorry. I think actually there may be some examples in basic. So yeah, going way back, I think there may actually be a few examples in basic. But if you go in here, there's a description of what it is. Scroll down and there's a lot of information that you have. Instructor guide tells you what it's about. Theory, this one's pretty straightforward, but it's an interesting addition to an introductory class saying, okay, we've ignored air resistance. We can't really do that. Let's look at it. Things that you could actually have students do. And this is an example of sort of taking it step by step and being more and more sophisticated as you go along. And then the cool thing is the code. You can get the code in either pseudocode, which sort of tells you how you're doing it, or actual examples of the code completed. So you can download and use those as you wish. So you don't have to do all the work of coding this in such a way that the students might be able to use it. It has solutions, so what the answer should look like. And what you should be expecting from the students. By the way, that's something else that we encourage for the Living Physics portal as well, is, help the instructors out with solutions. People can comment on it. And so, if you go back to exercise sets, you can look at different levels. You can look at different subjects. You can look at programming language. Let's see if they have basic. Oh, Joe, I'm sorry. It looks like there's no basic examples. Unfortunately.
You
But
need to survive basic.
yeah, a lot of others. And, for example, there's a lot of things that you could do just with spreadsheets. So, those are, lower level, easier to do. So that's the exercise sets. This other section, which is the faculty commons, these are things that are less extensive, but people thought they're pretty good. I'm going to add them to the community so that if anybody wants to use them, they can. So these haven't been peer reviewed. They're looked at to make sure that it's not garbage, but they don't have a full review and they don't give you as much information, but they may be exactly what you need. And so you can find things that are closer to what you need. The pickup group just got another grant. Hopefully they still have it. They have another grant to continue to expand and do more workshops and get more people aware of what they're doing and participating. So I'll let you poke around here a little bit. Again, you've had some, I think that you've had some joint workshops. I don't know how much people know about pickup, but this will get you an idea of, oh, I want to do some computation. This would be a good place to go. Okay. Yeah, there I have some information about, pickup stuff. The next thing I wanted to point out was IVV and IVET. You recently had a webinar on IVET, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'll just point these out fairly quickly. Looking at, in particular, IVV, this was the precursor to IVET, and basically it's using video and sort of interactive tutorials that are video based to do conceptual things, conceptual learning with physics. My favorite is the bullet in a block video. This is actually something on that is on Veritasium, but this is a tutorial that steps and steps and steps through this. And the basic idea is you shoot at a little piece of 2x4, you shoot in the middle, it goes up to a certain height. You shoot it up off to the side, it goes up to a height, and you ask the students what's the relationship in the height. And they're the same. But one, the second one is spinning and the first one isn't. I use this one in my class in conservation laws because I start with momentum conservation. And then I ask them about, okay, you shoot it straight up, you go a certain height, you shoot it off to the side, how high is it going to go? Most of them say it's going to not go as high. And then I walk them through, okay, let's talk about momentum. What's the initial momentum? What's the final momentum? What's, how high does it go and so forth, and get them thinking about that. And it's a way of introducing the idea of energy because they're mixing up, they think because it's spinning, they have this kind of soft idea of what energy is about. So it can't go as high because it's spinning. So it's a fascinating experiment that I certainly can't really do in my class because the university would not be happy with me bringing in a 22 and start shooting at blocks in front of my, in the lecture hall. So that's IVV. They have a collection of materials that are sort of basic first and second semester ideas that really go into conceptual understanding. So that's the IVV. IVET is again video-based, but the idea here is problem-solving tutorials. So with IVET, they take sort of standard introductory physics problems and take a step-by-step approach to them, using good problem-solving techniques with the video, where they stop from time to time and ask the students to make predictions or think about how they would solve this problem, and then take them through good problem-solving approaches. So the tutorials, again, they go from kinematics through Faraday's law. And so they'll have a problem for each of these as extensive examples of how to solve things. There are a number of other groups that have done things like this. The interactive video aspects of this make this kind of unique. So, let you think about a little bit and play around with both the IVVs and the IVETs. Spend a little time in those and ask questions and see what you think. Interestingly enough, they also have a studio where you can make these things yourself. So if you're so inclined, you can actually build one of these video tutorials yourself. Okay, so where am I? Those are available. Okay. Last thing I wanted to talk about and poke around in was what I'm calling legacy compadre. Again, compadre started 20 some years ago, and that's many generations in web language, so that we have a lot of materials from various places throughout the development of compadre. If you go to the AAPT compadre page and you click on this button that says library, it takes you down to a place where you can search for things that you might want that have been cataloged in the various works on compadre. Introductory undergraduate physics is probably the area that's going to be of most interest to you. So we'll just go there. And these are just collections of materials that we have added over the years. A lot of it is our librarians going out and finding some of the good materials and adding them. Some of it is people submitting things to the library. When Chris came to me and asked about doing this, I said, well, there's a whole bunch of stuff that I needed to do on compadre before the talk. Well, there's still a whole bunch of things I need to do on compadre, and I'm still giving the talk. So there's things in here that we try to clean out, but there's a lot of clean out that still needs to happen. So that's on an ongoing project, but there's still a lot of materials in here. So for example, John, I'm going to look for teal. And back in the day, we loaded up a number of your visualizations here. And that's the sort of things that we have developed over the years. What I'm doing now is going back and then, updating them as needed, getting new URLs, getting new connections. But, here is just again, going back over the many years where people have been using the web to share their resources, we're trying to make these available and keep them available, or at least keep records of them so that they don't get lost.
Yeah, Bruce, actually, I got a new website, not that's the classic website, but I just sent around by chat the address of the new website, which has all of those there.
Yep, I got it.
All right.
And so what I'll be doing is going through and updating these and adding some of the good stuff to it. So that's exactly the process that I'm doing. We have a way of checking things that don't seem to be available anymore and either contacting people or finding the new work.
Right.
But there's a lot of really good stuff here that you might find useful. So you can go through and do some searching or browsing. You can just look at it by general topic. So if I'm teaching DC circuits, I have, any number of examples of things from various places like FETs and other simulations on the topics. And this is the thing that over the next, it'll be a year or so where you want to reorganize and clean up and make this even more useful and interesting. But again, just like on some of the others, being good librarians or trying to be good librarians, we help you go down and look at specific things by, type topics, or if you want, let's say, education practices. This is something that is more PER related. You can find them. The other thing I have and I use in my class quite a bit is the physics demo videos that MIT tech team has put out. And those are really good. And for some reason, their demos work better than mine. I don't know. I wouldn't claim MIT is cheating, but
I'm sure they practice a lot before they film.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do.
One of our demo people has a YouTube channel. He has millions of subscribers,
Yep.
and he just does physics experiments.
Yep. 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 And so that's the sort of thing that we want to try to collect and point out to people. So that's one of the legacy sites I wanted to point out is going to be most relevant to this group. The other I want to point out is the open source physics project and Wolfgang's work. Again, this goes back to the late 1990s. These are programming tools and so forth for that allow Java and JavaScript simulations. One of the most interesting and most used part of this is Tracker. That's the open, free video analysis software that's built on the open source physics library. And their most recent addition is you can do it all online. Tracker is a way to take a video and then do analysis for it. And one interesting thing that is provided is you can use other people's products. If you go into Tracker Online, do an open file, and you do an open browser, if you go to collections, you can see all the ComPADRE collections of materials. So like in classical mechanics, you can do Newton's laws, you can do friction. So you can just download the materials. You don't even download it. You pull them into this Tracker Online, and you can do it entirely online. Yep, Tracker's been ported to JavaScript. That's, again, one of the projects with Robert Hansen at St. Olaf.
Give people a bit of time to play.
Yeah, give a little time to play so you can search through the physics source or search through the materials. So the last thing I wanted to add is that there's more collections out there, legacy and particularly legacy collections. PER Central, if you're interested in the actual research aspects of PER, this is a place where we're working with the PER community to sort of gather things together and support things. This is where all of the PER conference proceedings are, way back until 2001. There were some earlier ones that we might have somewhere, but those are the standard ones. There's also research articles where we try to collect things and dissertations. So we have a large number of PhD dissertations from people who have worked on various topics in PER. This really talks pretty significantly about the research, but if you're interested in dabbling in that's great. Another section we have under serials is what we call the reviews in physics education research. And there's a couple of volumes here. One of them is Getting Started in PER. And the first volume was essentially explanations of some of the curricula out there that are PER based. And this it's not nearly as detailed and expert-like as, say, an article in PhysRev or American Journal of Physics. It's written for sort of a general audience. So this may be real useful to you if you're interested in PER progress and issues. We have a collection on advanced labs that we've worked with the labs group on, and we hope to expand. Another thing that we work with the SPS on is every fall we have what we call an adoptive physicist event, where you can, as a physicist, can be adopted by a high school class or a couple of high school classes. So you can talk to high school students and get them interested and talk to them about what physics is about and what physicists really do. And this is particularly what we want to show is that there are physicists that don't just teach as professors or work in a lab, things that more unusual things that physicists may end up doing. So this would be particularly interested if you have some rather different experiences from the standard physics faculty member. So there we are. Those are the things that we've gone through with all the links on one page. This will be available. I mean, it's in the slides, so you can always go back and pull it up. And hopefully we'll post this online. I assume we'll post this on Optics. And so it'll be available. We did that. So I want to end up with the question that I kind of broached before is what else should we be doing? For you as an individual or you as the optics group, what else should we be doing? And I'm going to pull up my notes and take notes. So any thoughts you have or suggestions? Just let me know.
We are looking at a place to have kind of a forum or a discussion, as well as an archive for not just our past events, but also any presentations related to optics. Part of my reluctance to have space for materials is that there's already so much out there. It didn't seem worthwhile to duplicate efforts. So that was one of the motivations to have you, Bruce, come present on all the different compadre resources.
Right. Well, one comment about that is that even though there's a lot of things available, you can, as a community, gather things together and organize them and say, here's the things that I would like to emphasize.
Mhm.
Bring them in and organize them in a way that best fits your group. So, think about how that would best work and how you could do that. It's a matter of just getting some people that are willing to look through and say, that is really important for us. Let's put it in our section of optics on, resources. So you could take these and you can just pull things into here, and they'll be connected to all the information we already have.
Great.
Mhm.
I'm curious to hear from those of you who are at this workshop, what other ideas you have about what you'd like to see.
Oh, come on, you're a bunch of physicists. You always have opinions and complaints. Come on.
Well, actually, I have a question which is tangential. Because I'm at MIT, maybe 10 years ago, I got involved with somebody from the media lab who was doing virtual reality.
Mhm.
And I'm coming back into looking at this again. I've been off doing Voyager. They finally shut us down after 47 years, so I don't have any data coming back anymore.
Yep.
Um, what I'm curious, if I look at the hardware out there, I can buy a Quest 3 for 400 or 500 bucks, which has really got excellent augmented reality stuff. I got involved in that when I was doing the media lab and got
Yeah.
involved in virtual reality. Is there any motion toward movement toward using things like the Quest 3 in these kinds of things?
There's a small group of people that are thinking about this, and there's been a few workshops at AAPT, um, at AAPT meetings about it. I can go back through and contact people and see what the interest is. Um, we've had some virtual reality things added to Compadre over the years, but they've tended to break because whatever language they were using is no longer supported. It's like your experience with Java 3D.
Right, right.
So um, yeah, I mean, there have been talks about that and some workshops, and I can go through and sort of try to pull those out, make some of the connections, find
Okay,
out
yep,
who's doing
thank you.
what.
I would appreciate that. At the AAPT last summer, I saw a couple of presentations from German universities where they're using augmented reality so that you're seeing
Yep,
the experiment and also seeing the magnetic field lines in the same. It's quite impressive.
yep, yep. And it may be that, like you said, it's the equipment is now such that it could be more useful. Other thoughts?
Did you mention collab activities in there, or are there, uh, or did you already?
Um, if you go to pickup, there are things in there that are going to be using Colab and other online online platforms.
Okay,
So I think that there's some things that would be the place that I would go. And if you don't see anything, ask. Say, how who has used Colab or similar things in their class and how is it done? Let me see. That's the other thing that Pickup has is there's a number of articles and really practical guides about how you get started with all this. Okay, so if there's no more questions, thank you very much for listening. I hope it was helpful. And yeah, I'll try to get information about the AR, VR people participating, get a list for you, and send it out so that people can look around at it.
That would be great, Bruce. I really appreciate that.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Bruce.
You're quite welcome. As I said,
thank you.
glad I could do this and I hope it helps. And um, you can contact me through any of the ComPADRE websites. At the bottom, there's a contact us, and guess who it goes to? So